property owners that we talk to have a hesitation of selling, and they're really, most of them talk about, well, I'll sell, but I just need a replacement property. And the potential now that we're talking about is it could change that world entirely to where there may be no more 1031.
Yeah, and I think I think it really could lead to more seller financing, in order to spread that gain out. And I think what you'll see is, depending on the outcome in November, you may see some properties hit the market, mid to late November and try to close, quickly before year end, just in order to lock in those short lower rates.
Lower rates, yeah, and that's where seller financing could come in on a short-term gain. I mean, we talked a little bit about seller financing earlier, where the benefits oftentimes of seller financing aren't really talked about. It's not common practice. It's not something that is done across the board. Not everybody knows about it. It's almost like this hidden kind of secret. A lot of old school guys that have been around, but the benefits we've talked about, there are so many of them. Banks are great and amazing, but when you're able to utilize seller financing, it makes things a little bit easier as far as closing, as far as closing costs, as well as, the biggest benefit, which would be to a seller, is I can spread my risk across, not having to take all of my capital gain in 1 year. I can spread it and also make interest on that, interest payments.
Yeah, and I think something you'll see that's unique, in periods like now, when clients are talking to their CPAs, if you do think rates are going up, you can actually take a seller finance, take a note back as a seller, and actually elect to have all that gain taxed this year. If you think rates are doubling, I would say, I would run the present value calculation and say, hey, what would my out-of-pocket cash flow be? But it might be a situation where I want to pay the tax this year when I know rates are lower. And then as I collect that principal over time, I would not pay any tax on that transaction.
We had one situation that last year we did 1031. They had land for a long time, sold it to the development company. It was a related party, but you can still do the installment sale. And so we locked it in, elected installment sale. But they're looking now is, what do I do if I know the rates are going up? And the interesting thing, if you refinance that note in pretty significant terms are a little bit different, then it triggers the installment sale. And so that's a plan that we may want to trigger the installment sale at the end of the year.